Hey there, Pythonic Accountant here. Today we're going to take a look at the brand new tool that Claude has put out. It is Claude Code for non-developers. This thing is sick. This thing is really showing some true potential for the possibilities of co-working with AI. Let me take a look at this thing with you. So this thing here is kind of, looks kind of like Claude, but it's a desktop application. And right now it's only available on the Mac and for Pro and Max users. I'm a Pro user. And basically what we're going to try to use this for is to do a little bit of accounting work. We're going to do some audit procedures on some sample journal entry detail. So what we have prepared in advance here is we have this audit data analytics folder with a whole bunch of general ledger details. I'll pop this open and show you what this looks like. And you can see you've got quite a large file. It's this massive CSV file with, I'm not even sure how many records are in it. It's, 30,000 records almost. And each record's got a journal ID and line number, journal line description, business unit code, quite a lot of information for each of these journal lines. And then what we have in addition is these testing procedures that I had a previous conversation create for me. And you can see it's a quite a nicely written and designed document. This is something that Claude Cowork built for me to facilitate doing this test work. And it's got the different sections here, like objectives and scope, risk assessment, sample selection criteria, yada yada. Quite well done. Really impressed actually. And so we're gonna feed these documents into this new chat and see if it can follow the test procedures and perform the testing. We also have a testing workbook, and this testing workbook is where it's going to document its work. So if you want to take a look at it real quick, we can see we've got the index here with the different sheets. You've got our lead sheet that has all of the data for the file. We've got the sample selection criteria, the testing results, exceptions, analysis, and conclusion. So I don't know how long this is going to take. I'm probably going to have to pause it while it does some of the work, but I'm pretty excited. So first we had to set the folder to the audit data analytics folder. And then I'm just going to tell it, use the data, this folder, and the test procedures PDF file to perform audit testing, documenting your testing and results in the Excel file using best practices for an auditor, as well as guidance from the PDF file. Any questions? Let's go. So this is awesome. So check this out. You've got much more than just your typical chat interface here. Obviously, you have your historical chats over there, but let's close this for a second. Over on the right, you have your progress. So this is where it's going to give us its tasks that it's planning. So that way it doesn't get lost along the way. It can have subtasks as it goes. This is where it's going to show us the outputs that are created during the process. And then this is just the context that it has within context. So let's see what it says. I'll help you perform audit testing using data in your folder and the test procedures PDF. Let's explore what is available and understand the requirements. So this is great. I can see a test procedures PDF, an Excel workbook, a GL data file, and a log file. Before I proceed, I have a few clarifying questions. Great. What level of detail would you like for the audit testing documentation? Is it comprehensive, full documentation of all test procedures, detailed findings, standard, key procedures, test results, and material findings, what it recommends, or a summary, high-level testing summary with key results only? Well, I'm going to go with the recommendation. I don't want to have a context window blow up. I don't want to have it go way too crazy from an AI standpoint, running into limits on my use of Claude. So let's see if we can get enough with the standard testing, and we'll go from there. Okay, now it says, should I perform all tests outlined in the PDF or focus on specific areas? So this recommended doing all tests, every audit procedure specified, high risk areas only, or let me review the PDF first and recommend. Let's see. I'm gonna say let me review the PDF first and recommend because I don't think we want to do all the tests in the PDF because some of them actually don't even have the necessary testing documentation, like such as supporting documentation. So I'm gonna click that and see what happens. So perfect. I'll review the PDF procedures and data to recommend the appropriate tests, then perform standard level audit documentation. So here we go. So now it's got its sub steps here. The reviewing test procedures PDF. After that, it's going to analyze available data files and then recommend the procedures, blah, 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 where you'll perform audit testing, document the results, and verify testing documentation completeness accuracy. Amazing. So this is pretty cool. And so now what it's doing is it's using Bash. So what's really cool about this too is it has a lot of tools available on its tool belt, similar to the regular Claude chat, but this can use Bash, which is the underlying kind of system, prompting to be able to automate a lot of processes. It can use Python. It can actually, use some different ways to interact with Excel, which is usually through Python. There's quite a bit of other things that it can use as well that we're not going to cover much in today's video, but we will cover in future videos. Let's take a look. So it's review the PDF, analyze the data, and it's got some recommendations. So recommended testing approach based on the data available, recommend focusing on these high priority tasks that can be performed with the available data. Completeness testing, accuracy testing, verify debits equal credits, entries not reconciled to system log, find discrepancies, that makes sense. Look for weekend entries and any non-business hours and then do a sampling for some medium priority items, and then some analytical tests. So this sounds great. This approach focuses on tests we can definitively perform while following PDF's risk-based methodology. Yes, let's go. So again, I have no idea how long this is going to take. If this is a human doing the test, it would probably take quite a number of hours. I'm guessing this is going to take minutes. It still is not going to be instant, so we'll have to see how long it ends up taking. But I'm excited. All right, so let's dive into the audit testing. First, it's loading the data. Let's create a comprehensive Python script to perform all the audit tests. Love it. I love it. And so it's already completing one of the tests. It's checking the actual column names. Perfect. You can see the correct column names. Now it's creating a comprehensive audit testing script. So if we go up here, we can see it's in the performing audit testing procedures step. Oh, that's really cool. You can like interact with it by either asking a question or recommending a change. So you're not just kind of stuck with it doing its plan. You can provide it some guidance. I'm not going to interrupt because I think it's doing a great job so far. But let's see what happens. Now it's actually running the audit tests. That's cool. Of course, we don't actually see any outputs yet, but I know we're going to get to see the outputs. And again, over on the right, you can see what it's using right here. So it's got a skill that it's using. It's an Excel skill, so it can work with the Excel file. And then, and that's different than just Python. This is a skill specific for Claude to be able to interact with Excel files in a fast and meaningful way. And then again, it's got that subfolder that I have in my local drive. Awesome. Now it's actually documenting the results. Wow. So wow, did it finish all of the testing already? It seems like it did. That's crazy. So let's see what the results are in the Excel file. It's going to verify the documentation's completeness and accuracy as that last step, which I love. That's a good auditor mindset there. It's not just going to write it down and hope that it got it right and not double check anything. Always check your work, people. Wow. Okay. So it's documented everything in Excel. Now it's creating a professional summary document and verifying the work. This is insane. It's been 10 minutes, almost half of which was me doing the preamble before I got it started. And then about 5 minutes of it actually coming up with its understanding of the testing procedures, looking at the data, doing the sampling, doing the testing, documenting the testing, and verifying it. Now, again, I don't know how accurate this is yet. We're going to have to do a little bit of our own testing there, but I have a good feeling it's going to be pretty good, but we'll see. All right, now it's verifying the final outputs. It's got that one final executive summary document. And it's done. Wow. Okay. I've successfully performed the comprehensive journal entry testing following procedures outlined in your PDF, document everything in Excel using professional audit best practices. That's great. What was tested? The population coverage, 13,295 journal entries. It's 28,160 line items, a $928.3 million total volume. That's great. From 2007 to 2009. It performed these 6 tests and it found a few things. There were 4 unbalanced entries, 12 sequential numbering gaps, 109 round dollar amounts, and 90 non-business hour entries. So we've got different risks or potential issues based on these, which is really cool. And then the deliverables here, you've got the audit workbook and then the audit testing executive summary report. Very nice. Let's take a look at that executive summary report first. And it didn't like that. Let's see if we can open it up using a different method. The executive summary report. I don't see the where is this executive? Oh, here it is. Audit testing executive summary. Perfect. Of course, it's just a plain old text file. There we go. Make that bigger. I'm guessing this is just the same thing we saw in the Claude conversation, and it looks very similar. A little bit more detailed test results here. Not too much. Some minor exceptions here. Most of them satisfactory. It's that risk assessment. Adequate, low, adequate, and low. And then just a few minor recommendations. Investigating correct form balance entries. Document explanation for sequential gaps. Review supporting documentation for flagged entries. Some process improvements. And then, oh, interesting. Review user access rights for 15 rare users. I like that. And yeah, work paper reference. Okay, cool. Let's take a look at these work papers now. See how it did there. So you've got this work paper Excel file here, and got our index. Now it didn't fill out the prepare date reviewer date here. Maybe I can tell it next time to do that. We don't have values here. It looks like this is supposed to be a formula, but it's not. And looks like nothing's been okay. So we have exceptions here. We don't have testing results in the testing tab. So I'm a little bit confused as to why it didn't fill out those other tabs, but it does have these. That's weird. I don't think that this is not consistent with what it indicated in the results, that there were 299 million missing entries. Let's see the analysis. So it did do this overall analysis. That's good. It's got the conclusion, which we saw a little bit of, consistent with what it said. And then it's got the source data, I guess, uses a sample. So I'm curious what happened. We've got some missing data, what it looks like on the lead sheet, sample selection, and testing results. Let's just ask it what's going on there. Great work. Although I noticed the Excel file is incomplete. The lead sheet is missing the log counts. The sample selection doesn't have any items in columns E or F. And the testing results is blank. What's up with that? So, let's see what it says. I'll give it a chance to correct itself if it either made an error or didn't understand that that was kind of an expected part of the process. So we'll see what it does. So it's reading the Excel file. Let me check what actually got saved. I wonder if it meant to save things and it didn't actually save. That'd be interesting to find out. Okay. Yeah, I think it just missed those. Maybe it didn't realize that there were some placeholders that it needed to fill in but didn't. So let's see if it is able to fill it out correctly this time. All right. So it is making progress. It says, let's fix the A3 testing result sheet with actual data. It says perfect. Let me verify the fixes worked. And it says A1 has template placeholders. Let me fix that. And the one thing I did not tell it was the kind of odd numbering thing that it found, or that the disconnect rather between what its results were on just a few numbers missing in the logs. But then when we looked at the file, it looked like there were some, $100 million gaps. So I'm curious what was going on there. Let's see if it fixed that. So let's go ahead and open the file back up and see if it, added the things that it said it added. So I didn't tell it to sign off on the index. That's fine. Lead sheet. Okay. Awesome. So this looks like it's wrong. But we've got interesting. So log file debit, log file credit. The GL detail is coming from, this doesn't make any sense. Oh, this is silly. Yeah, I don't know what's going on here. But all right. I'm going to ask it. I'm going to see if it can help us figure out why the GL detail and the log file are showing two completely different. Like this is counts versus the log file. We're using the debit and credit dollar amounts. That's what I would have expected the comparison to be based on. And then let's go ahead and look at the sample selection. Oh, it screwed something up here. It looks like it wrote over the column name, so that's not great. And then we do have the testing results. So that's good. At least we got the testing results filled out. And then again, the exceptions still has those large missing numbers. And then, yeah, so I wonder if this is intended to be the actual number that's missing. But oh, I see what it is. It is this number of missing numbers. It's just a gap. It just jumps from this number to this number, and that's the number of numbers that's missing. That makes sense. So there's 5 jumps. There just happen to be quite a lot of numbers in between. So this seems right. So yeah, couple of issues here with the columns. I'm not going to nitpick it too much this time because I think it did, pretty dang good job. We probably would have to tell it how to, correct it right next time. And honestly, actually, maybe this isn't supposed to be a column. If it's it seems like it's intended to be based on the formatting. But again, I don't think the instructions maybe were as good as they should have been for some of this stuff, including what was supposed to be here. I don't know if that was something that Claude put in this time or the initial template was created with it, but I'm not going to give it too hard of a time. But I would say, this was good, not perfect. It still has some work to do. This is a good example of why this is an experimentation mode. So I am, I'm impressed with aspects of it, but I am still seeing some issues that will need to get resolved before I would actually try to use this in production or in practice with anything that's important. More just experimentation. So still cool. Still really impressed. It can do a lot more than just, I think, a chat interface could do if you're just doing a regular chat with one of these bots, given the fact that there are these multiple files, very large CSV file. It's, understanding it, coming up with a plan, executing the plan, writing the code, executing that Python code. So pretty dang good. So we'll stick with us. We're going to do some more videos on this, seeing how far we can push the limits, and we'll see you next time.